Welcome to Abilene People, our ongoing conversation hosted here on the Big Country homepage with the most interesting people in Abilene. And today we certainly have one of those, Laquiera Gantt, Executive Director for the Alliance for Women and Children. And we're here in your offices on the north side of Abilene. Thank you for being a part of this.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're a very interesting person.
I don't, so this should be good.
You don't think you're all that interesting, okay?
I don't know what we're going to talk about. But
Well, that's all we have for you today here at Abilene People. Now, okay, you're not originally from Abilene.
I'm not.
Where are you from?
Yeah, originally I was born in Kalamazoo, Michigan. It's Western Michigan. And then freshman year of high school, I moved to Hagerstown, Maryland. And
Okay.
so a little bit of Midwest and Northeast, and now here in Abilene.
So you came for university originally?
I did.
Abilene,
I went to ACU.
Yeah.
I went to ACU back in the 2000s, and that's how I got here, was ACU. I applied for different colleges and different universities and got accepted to several and was just trying to make that decision. And this particular recruiter, he would call me and ask about just certain personal things that were going on in my life, like choir concerts or cheerleading competitions. And I thought that was pretty neat. And so that was one of the determining factors as to why I came here. And then later I found out that he went to church with my aunt. So I'm sure he got some intel from her, but it was the best decision for me.
And then you developed a relationship with that recruiter, and you
ended up babysitting their children and family.
That's fun.
Just connected that way.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was pretty cool.
Well, that is kind of fun to have a backstory like that he had inside information you didn't know at the time.
I didn't know at the time.
Yeah. But you're glad you came to Abilene, and you've been here ever since.
Yeah, this is home.
Yeah. And so you are the director of a nonprofit, but you've done several things, and a lot of it involved coaching young people or career assessment or academic assessment. So you've always been invested in the lives of young people. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely. Prior to me graduating, I landed a job with Reveal Entertainment, and they are a manufacturer for educational games and toys. And so even at 22 years old, I was starting off in the educational world in a different way, doing some marketing and things like that for them. But everything that I have done has always been about young people in some way. So
yeah, great. So is that part of the core value you have, or did you just stumble into it and then realize, no, I really like young people and I like working with young people, or was that always your dream?
Yeah, I love young people. I'm the oldest of 9, so I have 8 brothers and sisters, and so family is super important to me. My parents were always involved in church and youth ministry and things like that. So I was always seeing examples of older adults and people working with young people. And then I just had mentors who have poured into me over my lifetime. And I know the importance of that. And that's why I'm where I am today. And so I wanted to pay that back in whatever way I could. And it's just what fuels me. It's what excites me. It's what gives me passion, is to be able to see the young person have that aha moment and know that I had something to do with that. So,
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so over your career, and not that, you're anywhere near finished, you're just getting going.
Just getting started.
Yeah, but do any relationships stick out to you? Are there any stories that you kind of go back to and things you think about, oh, wow, that was really rewarding, or that was really challenging? Anything in particular?
One of the things that I always am grateful for, and it always, as I continue to develop into the leader that I am, is the prior leaders, so my bosses. I've had 3 bosses that allowed me to be me, my authentic self. They didn't keep me in a box. They allowed me to sort of explore even more so of the position that I was given. And so they didn't macromanage me in any way, and they just allowed me to be me. And it's why I feel like I've been able to do some good work for our community. And so I try to remember that as I continue to grow in my role, to make sure that people have the permission to be themselves, and take ownership of whatever purpose that they have within the organization or whatever it is that we're doing together. So
yeah, beautiful. So it's affected the way that you manage and the way that you communicate with the people that you hire.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to play a little game here where I'm going to do agree or disagree. And then you have to explain and defend your answer. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
All right, here we go. All right, agree or disagree. Miss originally from Michigan and Maryland, now in Texas. I like cold weather better than hot weather.
Disagree.
Really?
I am not a cold weather person because I had to deal with it for so long. So, but I'm not a hot weather person either. So these 104, 110 degree summers, I'm an 85, 70, 75 to 85 degree girl.
So really, you're looking for a job in San Diego.
That's goals.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, okay. Here's another one, a big issue, and I want to know the truth, and I want you to defend your answer. Ready?
Okay.
Brisket better than ribs.
Disagree.
Really? Really, you're ribs.
I'm a rib girl. I didn't even know what brisket was until I moved to Texas. I'd never even heard of it. So.
Well, let's talk about that for a minute, seriously, because different regions of the country have different kinds of food, and you're telling me you didn't even know what brisket was till you moved to Texas.
I'd never heard of it.
And then, so when you first had brisket, did you think, what is this?
I did, yeah.
It's
I had
like
to
roast.
ask friends. Yeah, and I'm not really a roast person.
Okay.
So I had to ask friends about it, and then I tasted it. Now I've had, I've had my fair share of it. Obviously, if you live in Texas, that's a part of every meal. Yeah. But I'm not just a huge fan. So I'm gonna go with the ribs. We grew up. My dad we grew up with him cooking on the grill, grilling ribs all the time. So I'm a rib girl.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Basketball is better than football.
Agreed.
Oh, okay.
Agreed.
Now here we get into some real controversy.
Yeah. Basketball is king back home. And I know football is king here, but basketball was always our thing. Now, I didn't play. All of my siblings played. They were all wonderful. Several of them got to play in college and all that good stuff. But we always grew up watching basketball. I'm talking about Isaiah Thomas, Joe Dumars, back in the Detroit Pistons. Yeah. So definitely a basketball fan. I love to watch it when I can. Favorite player was Kobe Bryant. So.
Wow! What a loss! You know, you don't really think about that because we're not in Laker country.
Right.
He transcended the Lakers, and everybody loved that guy as a player.
Yeah.
What a
huge
talent.
fan. So.
What a talent. Well, you and I run into each other a couple of times at basketball games.
That's right.
And they were girls' basketball games for the team that ultimately won state here in Texas, the Lubbock Monterey Lady Plainsmen. But so I knew you liked basketball.
Yeah.
But you do go to football games too, I suppose.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. I love sports. I like to watch all the things. I'm really actually, besides basketball, my second favorite sport to watch is golf. I was on the golf team in middle school.
Okay.
And
were you pretty good?
I wasn't. I'm still not great at all, but I enjoyed it. And in middle school, it was just about the mechanics of golf and just learning more about the etiquette of it and all that kind of stuff. But that's my second most favorite sport to watch.
I'm curious, do you golf very often?
I don't, but I just purchased some secondhand golf clubs from a friend a few months ago, and so we're going to go try them out this summer.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, what's that old saying? A bad day on the golf course is better than a good day at work.
Hey, there you go.
So, but don't go in the heat of summer because that's where you'll run into those 114-degree days.
We got to go early mornings, springtime. Yeah.
All right. Okay, so here we go. Ready?
Okay.
This one's a little different. The others have been a little fun. This one's, our nation is divided over pretty much every idea and issue. Agree or disagree?
Agree. Yeah. And that goes, if I say I like vanilla, you're going to say you like chocolate. It can go from that to all the things that we're experiencing now. And that's just because people are people. We all have different personalities and ideas and opinions on what should be happening and what's right and what's wrong and all of that. So, yeah, I definitely.
And you think social media has been a part of the division that we see culturally?
Oh, yeah. We've got lots of keyboard warriors now, so you can say whatever you want to say. And we take away that personal element there. So you forget that on the other side, somebody has feelings, somebody has a family. And so we say whatever we want to say. And because we can do that and nobody's going to necessarily see us or check us for it. So, and then it just multiplies. You get somebody on the roll with whatever stance that they're on. And then you get the comments and likes and all the things there. So, yeah. It's unfortunate.
I think sometimes people will say things to strangers in social media that they really would never say to strangers
Ever.
in what I'm going to call real life. Of course, social media is a part of our real
Yeah.
life, but it's detached. You know?
Absolutely.
Why do you think that is? You're a person with a lot of different insights, and you know a lot of different people, and you've made a lot of observations. Why are we geared like that? Why do we say things, incendiary, hurtful things in social media spaces, maybe that we'd never say if we just ran up on a stranger in the grocery store or in the airport? You know, why is that?
I just think we get caught up in the moment, for one. And again, the disconnect. So there's no connection. We would forget that on the other side of that keyboard is a person. And whether you agree or disagree about somebody's job being taken away or somebody's family not receiving whatever benefits they're going to receive, whatever end of the spectrum you're on, sometimes we forget, or we choose to forget that there are real people on the other end, and there's just no accountability. But most of us have common sense enough not to walk up to a stranger and say those things, because you don't know what you're going to receive on the other end of things, right? So
yeah. I think there's a lot there, and you're really onto it.
Yeah.
And we just need to be better stewards of our thought world.
Yeah.
It just pours out in social media spaces.
Yeah.
Okay, here's one.
Okay.
People in Abilene are kind and considerate.
Agreed.
You do agree?
I do agree.
And that's been your experience for the 20 years you've lived in Abilene, generally speaking?
Yeah, generally speaking, I think that people here are kind. I think they're considerate. I like the sense of community that we have in Abilene.
Okay, describe that.
We want to help each other out. I think about the Abilene Gives Day that we do in May, and the excitement that you see from just people wanting to give in the nonprofit world in particular to so many different nonprofits, and how I've seen different families, how they're helping to condition their littles, their young people to get involved in things like that. 4 and 5 and 6 year olds getting a chance to be generous and pick different organizations that they want to give to. So that's just one part of it. But I just think as a whole, we want to help people. And I think as a whole, people are good. I like to look at the notion of us being good in general. And so Abilene, when we need to all have all hands on deck, we tend to do that. We tend to step up and help our neighbor. And so, yeah, it's a good place to be.
I totally agree. And I want to agree. I think that's and beautifully said. But in the middle of that, you'll have instances, whether it is the social media that we talked about, or people being rude to one another on the road. Because I got to say, I think Abilene has its fair share of really bad drivers. Have you ever noticed this?
Listen, yes.
Why is this?
I may have been on that side before.
Wait, you are a bad driver?
I may have had people honk at me, and I may have honked at others. You know.
Whoa,
the truth comes out. The truth comes out.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's everywhere though. Yeah, everybody has their fair share of bad drivers.
It's true. Okay, so we've talked a little bit about your history. I want to know a little bit more about your family, because you told me a story one time when we were just getting to know one another that you took in a couple of nephews at one time in their lives. They were very young, I think. Yeah. And I don't know, I don't recall, I'll let you tell the story, but you took them in and essentially raised them for a period of time as your own. I mean, is that a fair way to describe it? Yeah, I had a 3-month-old and a 3-year-old. He was about to turn 4 in a couple of months that came to live with me. A family member needed help, and that's what we do in my family. We help one another. And she needed help in that moment. And so they came to me. I don't have any children. And so I'm Auntie Lala. And the 3-year-old, we have a very, very special connection. He's my oldest nephew, my first nephew or niece of any sort. And so we've had a very special connection since birth. And it was an honor to be able to be the one chosen for that, and to be able to help my family in that time. And it was hard. It was very challenging. But again, when I think about community, I think about Abilene and how so many people showed up and really poured into my family in that period of time to make sure that, one, my sanity was intact,
but also that we were good. And that means, I mean, we had people that would purchase clothing for them, and we had people that would drop off meals so that we would be able to, I wouldn't have to worry about cooking for a few days. And just so many different things happened with would babysit and help out. Just so many different things. And some of these people never even got a chance to meet my nephews, but they wanted to help. And so that's when I think about community. It's what it means to me in our community here in Abilene. People have always showed up when needed, and I appreciate that. But yeah, it was a beautiful time. It was a hard time, but it was a beautiful time. We had so much fun, and my family was able to grow from that, and they're doing amazing with their families.
And how long ago? How many years?
That was 4 years ago.
Okay.
4 years
So
ago.
obviously 4 years older now and all.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you look back at that, and you said it well, it was hard, but it was also beautiful and rewarding, and you love that time. Any funny stories stand out, where Auntie Lala just lost it because the boys were so funny? Anything like that stand out?
Oh, let me see. They did so
because
many
I bet
things.
they were characters.
They were characters.
Of course, one was really little.
One was, he was 3 months.
He was a baby.
But I got to watch him, learn how to sit up and crawl and all that kind of stuff. And then my oldest nephew, that was during the snowpocalypse time when we had all that snow and we didn't have power and water and all that kind of stuff. So, but they don't care. They wanted to go outside. So I didn't have any gloves one day. And so we did the old school. I don't know if you did this, but I had to get the socks. I put socks on them and we went outside and had a blast and did science projects and stuff like that. They were just funny. I don't know if I have any like crazy wild stories.
But even in the snow apocalypse, they wanted to go outside and play, and you put socks on.
Oh yeah, let's go.
Beautiful.
Let's go. Yeah.
It's fun.
And then you know what? Somebody saw that and sent me money to get gloves. It's just the craziest thing.
Yeah.
They were like, get those babies some gloves. And they sent money to do that. And I'm just always amazed how God has always been a source of provision for me and my family. And my goal is to be able to do that for other people. So that was a good time. Good time.
Nice. You mentioned God providing. We get so fast paced and our world is so hectic that we lose that value. We lose the centeredness of thinking that there's a provider, that somebody's taking care of us. And that somebody, obviously I'm referring to God as you did. How can we, and maybe we can't, recapture that as a society and culture? Is it going to take an extreme hardship? Like after 9/11, we all came together.
Yeah.
Is it going to take another cataclysmic event for us all to come together? Or are we, in your opinion, just destined to go over falls after falls after falls and our barrels of discontent and concerns that, we don't like each other?
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I hope not. I hope it doesn't take that. I think we've seen glimpses of us coming together, 9/11, and even in some of the COVID stuff, there were some glimpses of that, right? We didn't want people dying, and so there were some glimpses of that. I think it starts as an individual, and I can only speak for myself. The more that I'm disconnected from God and that source for me, then the more disconnected I'm going to be from my brother and my sister, right? And so I'm not perfect in any way, but what I'm learning the older that I get is to really lock into that relationship with Him. And I feel like I'm just having like this new like awakening about that, honestly. Like I grew up in church and grew up with a faith and belief in God, but maybe in the last couple of years, and it's taken some personal hardships and some personal things that I had to endure and go through to strengthen my relationship with Him. And I think that's an individual thing. I think the more that we are connected to that source and to the center, the more that we can be more compassionate to our fellow man. The more that we're thinking about just ourselves and we are disconnected and we try to do this thing on our own, the more we're going to fall. We just can't. You cannot live life without community. And I can't live life without being connected to the source.
Well, you, in a way, just described the mission of the organization you had, the Alliance for Women and Children.
Yeah.
Your mission statement talks about empowering women, strengthening families, enriching our community. And that's what you just talked about in the greater context of remembering God and remembering what's most important.
Yeah.
Why are you, you can do a lot of different things. Why are you the director of Alliance for Women and Children?
That was led by the good Lord Almighty. I will say that. But I think everything that I've done thus far has been aligned with the underdog. So I like to think of myself as being an advocate for the underdog. So whether that's children or women or in my instance, brown people, Black people, that's really important to me to be able to be an advocate for the underdog in whatever way that is. And so the Alliance for Women and Children allows me to use some of the passions that I have to then pour into their mission, into the mission of the Alliance. And so I've just been drawn to places that allow me to cheer and help the underdog amongst all kinds of other people. I've had the ability to meet in so many different people from so many different walks of life. But I like to consider myself an advocate for those who need just an extra bit of advocating for.
Yeah, well, and the marginalized, whoever they are.
Whoever that is.
You mentioned women, people of color. I think if you travel or you've seen different cultures, you understand what it is to be a minority or be marginalized. Yeah. And I'm concerned that we live in what I've called a post-cordial world. We're not cordial any longer. Kindness isn't a core value any longer. And we've addressed a little bit of how we live in a community that's kind and considerate, generally speaking. But you're working in an environment that calls on people to look out for other people, particularly the marginalized persons. Are you concerned about our culture at large and if it moves away from the values of kindness and consideration and cooperation, that we'll lose touch with the marginalized and that they'll be, well, even more pushed aside, overlooked, forgotten?
Yeah, I'm concerned. I mean, we don't want to move away from those core values. It's important for us to be compassionate and to be kind. And when that at times can seem like it's an afterthought, that is concerning. But again, I think it takes us to make sure that we stick to those core values. And it takes people like us to be able to make sure that we're pouring into the next generation. So we're showing them what that looks like. And it can be a small group of people can do mighty work. When I think about just this building right here in the Alliance, this was in 1919 that this whole thing came together.
So let's pause there. You're saying this organization has been going on for 100 years?
100 plus years. 1920 is when we were founded, but in 1919 is when Mrs. Scarborough and a handful of ladies really went out there and made this dream a reality. And in 1919, 1920, we were limited in so many things as women. And so, but it takes a small group of people. It doesn't have to be this massive group of people to move the needle and to create a huge change in our community and in our world. So my goal is to continue to pour into other people and help to plant that seed of compassion and kindness. So,
well, and as you model that here at the Alliance for Women and Children, you're impacting a whole bunch of kids in your after-school care program.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that just for a minute, and specifically the difference that makes on the lives of some kids.
Yeah, we've got 470 kiddos that we're currently serving. And what I love about that is that these kids are getting to be served by college students, retired grandparents, retired nurses, middle-aged people. They just get a very eclectic mix of people that are pouring into them and helping to water the values that have already been planted by their parents and guardians in the schools and things of that nature. So we always like to say for the last 3 hours of their day, we get to really make this big difference, because you know how kids' memories are. So when they get to go home and they say, "How was your day?" we want them to be able to say good, because of the last 3 hours that we had with them. So it's so important that we model that for our kiddos, and we continue to plant that and water that seed that has already been planted by so many other people in their lives.
So the youngest, or you're the oldest of 9 children, right? You're the oldest of 9.
I am.
So you grew up in a home with a whole bunch of siblings. So do you see families in your work with children, particularly in the after school program, do you see families that remind you of your family? Do you see families that are just very different, but still very much family? I guess what I'm asking is, families come in different sizes and shapes.
Yeah.
It sounds like you had a really great nuclear family with a lot of siblings.
Yeah, so they come and we see all of that. So we know now, again, 4 years ago, my nephew, his family in that moment was Auntie Lala was his guardian. And we have families that come in every day that look different, but they are a family. And so we want to make sure that we can minister and administer the needs to that family, whatever that looks like, as an organization. Yeah, I have a huge family. I don't see a lot of families with 9 kiddos anymore. I know they're out there, but we do see families, especially now where we're living with grandma and mom and dad and auntie. They're all living together and all kinds of different things. And so we want to make sure that as we continue to grow, and that we're able to make an impact on that family, not just when they pick them up and drop them off, that they're provided that after school care. But we also want to make sure that as we continue to grow, that we're able to provide other services for them. Family is super important to me. So family engagement opportunities for them so that they're able to connect with their kiddos. You think about it, if you're picking your kid up at 6 o'clock, you got to eat dinner, it's time for a bath, and it's time to go to bed. There's not a lot of connection, opportunities for connection in those short hours. And so whenever we can create and provide some of those opportunities for our families, we want to do that too. So, yeah.
Well, you really saved a very poorly worded question. As I was asking it, I was hoping you would get the gist of what I mean, and you did.
Okay.
The families come in all different sizes and shapes. You had a really large family, lots of siblings. You see all kind of families.
Yeah.
And I love that each one deserves the dignity and place as a family, and helping them figure out and helping them find that dignity is really, in a sense, what you do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love it. I think also the diversity of our families. And when it comes to, we have doctors that use our programs. We have people that work at Walmart that use our programs. We have, people that work in the school district that use our programs. And so all of those kids are now having a collective experience from so many different family systems. And I think that's really neat that they get that opportunity to just be kids with kids. And so that's really cool for us too, that we welcome the community. There's no cutoff to who can come in our program. But we're gonna look out for those kids. We're gonna look out for our families.
Love it. Okay, so let's wrap this up. And I just want you to think, from where you sit, if you could look out in 10 or 15 years, how would you describe Abilene, the Abilene you want to see? What dreams do you have for Abilene? What would be ideal for you? Another HEB, another
super HEB,
another super Target.
Super Target.
These people talk about the retail they'd love to see come. Well, that's not a bad answer, but I think you know what I'm talking about is just the big picture vision for our city. What do you want to see?
Yeah, I think that all of that is inclusive, right? You want a place where people enjoy to be here. And I think that community is just heightened to whatever magnitude that it can be heightened on to. So for instance, right now, I love that on certain days of the year, we are all hip, hip, hooray. Again, I think about Abilene Gifts. To me, that's just a cool day. And it's not just because of nonprofits. I look forward to being able to give to different organizations. I think that is so cool. So in 10, 15 years from now, I'd love to be able to see us thriving as a community, even more so in that direction, giving to those who are in need of help, being able to collaborate as a community and bring in fun and exciting things for our families and for the citizens here. But just to be a place where we can all thrive and we can all be successful in whatever success looks like for us. That would be my dream for Abilene, and I think we're getting there. I like it here. I like the slowness of things. I like that we can go down the street and we can still say hello and connect, and I can see you at a basketball game and it's okay for me to talk to you. I like those kinds of things, and I pray that that continues to happen, on a larger scale.
Well, beautifully said. And maybe we could add to it that one day, Buffalo Gap Road's construction will be completed.
Streets. Yeah, that's a goal.
Well, it's so wonderful to be with you, Laquiera Gantt.
Thank you.
Executive Director of Alliance for Women and Children, but so much more than that. Auntie Lala,
Yes.
community leader, a person that's making a difference in really countless lives and helping families, helping people on the margins. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
I appreciate it.
Thank you. And thank you for joining us. And if we're lucky, we'll see you back here next time for Abilene People, an ongoing conversation with Abilene's most interesting folks. Have a great day.